working in the business and not on it, I feel stuck. I'm so unsure why things seem to keep going wrong and I keep having to come back and intervene. When life throws a pile of angry bees at your face, what's your first thought? Aside from bees? Do you blame life? Maybe the proverbial bees? Some sort of deity? Do you pause and think, I probably should have done something to avoid that in the first place? It might not be a ridiculous pile of angry bees, but it definitely might be an employee who made a decision that you would have never advised. One that caused a bunch of negative downstream effects. But do you blame that employee? Life? Some sort of deity? Do you think of yourself as the victim here? Or first, do you consider that, you kind of did this to yourself? Did you provide clear expectations, documented process, and explicit rules for the employee to follow? Did you have controls in place in the event that someone operated outside their purview? A very famous Dutch soccer player and coach, Robin van Persie, says, "Losers complain and blame everybody. Winners take control and responsibility." Recognizing your role in things and accepting it allows you to comfortably think, hey, I can be better. And in so doing, we can be better, turning that perceived disaster into a learning experience for everyone. It's not a weakness. It's an unbelievable strength. This mentality empowers you to exercise critical thinking skills while solving problems much faster because you have all the pieces to work with. If a company is successful or if it fails, who's typically held responsible or gets the credit? The top person, typically. If my life is filled with joy, love, and amazing experiences, who's responsible? If it's filled with misery, bitterness, and unrealized potential, do you know who's responsible then? Barring any unforeseen tragedies, I'd say,
Well, of course I know him. He's me.
The great Brian Tracy advises that bad habits are easy to form, but hard to live with. Good habits are hard to form, but easy to live with. So let's make growth a choice and a habit. Boy, Brian Tracy, that dude is an unbelievably brilliant man who proffers so many thought-provoking concepts that you barely have time to put them into practice before the next piece of wisdom is handed down. Speaking of which, move out of your comfort zone. You can only grow if you're willing to feel awkward and uncomfortable when you try something new. The comfort zone breeds complacency. It's familiar. It's safe. What comfort really is our lizard brain saying, it's safe here. Don't change a thing. When do things get uncomfortable? It's when we start or try something new. You ever hear someone say, I don't like change? That person has a very loud lizard brain. The fact is, we're human beings, and we are incredible freaks of nature. We are built to grow, succeed, and thrive. But when we don't, we are not happy, not even a little. There's usually two catalysts for pursuing growth. One, and more preferably, you want to. Or two, the pain level increases to the point where you can't deal with it anymore and you have to do it. Something has to change. I'd rather be proactive, but you do you. Let's say you started a business alone. You did everything in the beginning: sales, customer service, technical work, accounting, shipping, all of it. But then one day you realized, I can afford to hire someone. So you go about doing just that. You immediately look at hiring someone whose skills make a good fit for the part of the job you don't really like doing or aren't very good at. In Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, he goes on with an example about having an accountant be the first hire. So we'll stick with that. You meet with a guy named Lou. Lou's great. Guy knows his stuff and is willing to work for what you're paying. So he takes over your embarrassment of an accounting operation and gets to work setting it right. But then you notice something. Boy, is Lou great. I don't have to do the books anymore. And wow, he's good on the phone. So you start to have him field calls while he's not in the middle of his daily accounting activities. You also notice that you have some time on your hands for once. So maybe you take a longer lunch here and there. Maybe even a day off. All the while, Lou is hard at work. Then Lou comes to you saying, hey, I think it'd be really great if we hired another staff member. And you're like, wow, if things are that good with just Lou, yeah, go for it. So he does. Lou hires someone that he would want working at the business. Thanks to your hard work earlier, the business continues to grow, as does the number of staff, and so does your time away from the business. Then one day you hear a customer complaint. You're so upset that you go to Lou about it. One thing leads to another, as it typically does, and you realize that you don't really know what anyone around here does. And that Lou's been making a lot of decisions that you would never have made. So you tear down what Lou was diligently working on, never pausing to recognize that the underlying motivation for this reaction is that you don't understand the business anymore and don't know how to handle it. You drag the business back to what you do understand. Over time, the relationship degrades. Lou leaves. So you're back in the driver's seat. The staff don't really know how to handle your management style or direction, so one by one they leave too. Great. You're back to having to do everything. You're back to being trapped working in the business again. But here's the thing. You've been here before, and you couldn't handle it. So why go back? This phenomenon outlines what Gerber describes as what the typical process looks like for small businesses as they try to go from the infancy business stage to the adolescent stage, and then ultimately the maturity stage. Alex Hormozy advises business owners that the hardest work is the work you don't know how to do. And that one of the biggest failings of that mentality is going back to what you know in order to feed your ego. Looking at this previous situation with Lou, it's pretty clear that the business owner stepped back way too far without providing Lou with what he needed. One of the exercises that Gerber has any business he works with do is create a hierarchy chart. Okay? Even if it's a sole member business. Their reaction is typically, which is wrong, what do you mean? It's just me. I do everything around here. That's missing the point, okay? Even if you're the only person at a business, you're fulfilling no less than 15 roles. You are the CEO, the owner, the salesman, the technician, accountant, marketer, customer service rep, the list goes on and on. As you fulfill each one of those roles, you document your responsibilities, expectations, and processes. Then set up some controls to ensure that they're adhered to. This time when your Lou comes aboard, he's been provided with an explicit explanation of his role, documented procedures that he must follow, and clear set expectations. This is how you win. You are setting your business up as if it were a franchise, where it can be duplicated exactly as you expand. You become system and process dependent, not necessarily people dependent. Okay, that sounds heartless, but the truth is people like clarity. They like to know where they fit in and what is expected of them. They also like a thoughtful leader who takes time to ensure that he or she is responsible, strategic, and ultimately taking care of the organization's people. This breeds trust, and it saves you from a lot of unnecessary frustrations and heartache. Being stuck in the cycle of doing everything keeps you from moving forward and robs you of the time and space to think creatively and strategically about your future. If you're unsure how to break free, that's okay. That's absolutely okay. There are countless books, consultants, online resources, and local professionals ready to help. Remember, it's not a weakness to admit that you don't know everything. It's a strength to recognize it. If you take action in order to grow. Remember, you can't engage in big picture thinking if you're trapped in the day-to-day operation. It's time to work on the business, not in it. And have a little fun, learn to laugh at yourself and maybe learn a little along the way. Embrace the full picture so that you can focus on the big one.